Apparently, our first guest is an internet sensation, and apparently his video has over 15 million views, apparently.
The apparently kid.
Noah Ritter, our favorite 6-year-old Noah Ritter.
What did you think about the ride?
It was great, and apparently I've never been on live television before, but apparently sometimes I don't watch the news because I'm a kid, and apparently every time, Grandpa just gives me the remote after we watch the Powerball.
What's the Powerball?
Tell me about the ride. What did you think about the ride?
Well, it was great
Why?
because apparently you're spinning around, and apparently every time you get dizzy,
Yeah.
that's all you do is get dizzy.
Fun?
Yeah. And I've never ever been on live television. I never ever be on live television.
Are you excited?
Yeah, and apparently I already went down the super slide. When I went down the one, I was scared half to death. I just freak out.
Okay.
So, as you just saw, the 5-year-old boy, Noah Ritter,
Deck Ritter.
aka the apparently kid, he spoke very good English. And now you might be thinking, Tayo, what are you talking about? Of course he's fluent because he's American. You are wrong. You are wrong. When I first watched that video, I couldn't help but think like, why is his English so good? Well, for some people, the reason might be obvious. But he's American. That's what you just said, right? But I think there's something deeper than that, and it's worth taking a closer look. I might be wrong, but I feel like the words he used in the video, as in even words like apparently, dizzy, freak out, spinning around, are not so, they are not so difficult. Like, his vocabulary, it doesn't feel as advanced as what we study for ACAN or TOEIC. Hate to talk shit, but if you took a random English learner off the street who was just studying for those kinds of bullshit English tests, do you think he could speak as fluently and accurately as the 5-year-old did? Of course not. Then where's the gap? Now, if you had to take a guess, how many words does a typical 5-year-old know? 5,000 words? 10,000 words? At least more than we know, right? Well, according to Google, an average 5-year-old has an expressive vocabulary of around 2,200 to 2,500 words. For reference, you should know about 2,100 words in order to pass ACAN grade 3, which is the equivalent of junior high school education, and 5,100 words for ACAN grade 2, which is that of high school education. There's something off here, right? Now, let's compare 5-year-old kid to some random English learner. If we assume that kids sleep for 12 hours a day on average in their first 5 years, this kid is awake for 12 hours every day. He's probably listening to English for about half of the time he's awake through talking to family members, friends, teachers, or even just watching anime or TV shows. So he listens to English for 6 hours every day. Fast forward 5 years, he's listened to English for 10,950 hours and acquired about 2,500 words. Now, let's turn to the English learner. I'm gonna be assuming for the sake of this comparison that this guy's learned English for 6 years in school. If we assume he's a reasonably prudent person, he should be studying English for at least an hour a day. So he's learned English for 2,190 hours and should be expected to know about 5,000 words. So to sum up, the 5-year-old kid spent over 10,000 hours mainly listening to the language and acquired about 2,500 words, whereas this English learner had spent just about 2,000 words just repeating and practicing grammar, vocabulary, and fucking blah 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 pronunciation and shit, and learned 5,000 words. Yes, something feels off. The problem is, the English learner only has a very broad and shallow understanding of the language, whereas the 5-year-old goes narrow and deep. Let's say they are both Pokemon trainers. The English learner, this guy, has caught thousands of different Pokemon, including some rare Pokemon. In fact, 5,000 Pokemon if you think of each Pokemon as an English word. However, if you look at each of them, they are so weak. So weak they are not even ready to fight, because he hasn't leveled them up. So, most of his Pokemon are stuck at lower levels. Now, let's look at the 5-year-old. This guy, you'd be surprised because this kid, he's been playing Pokemon 5 times longer, but he's got only 2,000 Pokemon. He ain't even got fancy Pokemon. But if you look at each of them, they're fucking badass, dude. I'm talking level 90 to 99. You understand this analogy, right? The point that I'm making is, vocabulary is not just about quantity, but it's more about quality. People tend to play a binary game when it comes to, improving the vocabulary, but it's not really about, oh, I know that word or I don't know that word, What you need to understand is, learning vocabulary is incremental and also incidental. When you encounter a new word and try to remember it, it can only get you so far, as in level 0 to level 1. That just ain't gonna cut it, The only way to level up your Pokemon from there is just to encounter those words in many different contexts and let your brain absorb them on an intuitive level. When you are consuming English content, you are essentially trying to pick stuff up subconsciously. Like Katsumoto said, you just have to give the opportunity for those words to be picked up. So, at the end of the day, it all boils down to time, really.
But in order to get that stage, you have to go through the listening to it. You have to go through the sucking. That's what you did in your native language too. You heard a ton. It's just basically the input hypothesis. And what happens with time, you'll pick stuff up. It'll just happen. You just have to give it the chance to be picked up,
And that's what I meant by incidental. With that said, there's one technique that I think everyone can use, or should use, to absorb new vocabulary more efficiently. And I'm gonna talk about it in another video. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to let everyone know vocabulary isn't quite as important as you might have thought. And knowing more words, more vocabulary, in and of itself doesn't necessarily mean you are better off at a conversational level. Alright guys, thanks for watching another one. Thanks for watching to the end. I appreciate you. And yeah, see you in the next one. Peace.